Hello and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections. And what we're looking at is just your typical 40-gallon water heater. Usually they're either 40 or 50 gallons. And so these things are starting to become quickly outdated. I mean, they're kind of like dinosaurs now as far as heating water. If you have natural gas, I highly recommend that you move away from this and go to a tankless water heater system. They're really efficient, and they only heat the water when you need it. Plus, you never run out of hot water too. But this one here is 2001, and it's kind of amazing that it's still in service and still working pretty good. But that may not have been the case if this was a newer water heater, because they're not making them as good as they used to. Now they actually have thinner tanks, and so I've been getting reports where some of these are failing as a result. So it's possible that if you have a brand new water heater, it may only last 4 or 5 years, maybe 6. It's just no way you can really put a date on it, but they're not lasting as long as some of these real old ones are. So the way this thing pretty much set up, you see these 2 panel covers here. You may know some of this already, but you got heating elements right there, and usually that's what goes out first in these. And you can replace them, and I have replaced them before. And they say really what you should do is drain your tank once a year and clean it out, and replace the anode rods in this. Now this here, if you were to drain it, you would open up this valve down here at the bottom. This actually has a hose connection, so we can put a standard water hose on it, run it outside the door and let it drain. Now, in order to get this to drain quicker, what you would want to do is lift this up. This is your pressure relief valve, and this should always exhaust to the outside because it's designed to open up if it senses high water pressure or high temperature. It works off both high temperature and pressure. This is what keeps the tank from exploding. So they say that you can replace the anodes in these, like I said earlier. It's a zinc rod that goes down through the tank, which helps protect it. Instead of the elements eating the tank itself, it will actually eat the rod, the anode rod. And this has also got a expansion tank at the top. Now what that's there for is to absorb any excess pressure that may be getting on your plumbing system. And there's several ways that can happen. Your water heater can create this pressure from the heating and expansion of the water, but also if you have a weeping pressure reducing valve at the street, the city probably has 150 psi, maybe even more, on their water line out there. So if it's not fully working, then that pressure could start seeping over to the homeowner side, and you can have 150 psi in here. So that's why that tank is there. And so if you do have one of these expansion tanks, you want to periodically test that. And that's something you can do yourself, and I'm going to show you how to do that. All you need is just a standard tire gauge like this. It has what they call a Schrader valve. And most of them have a big blue cap that just unscrews up here, but this one has a small blue cap. And just take it off. And just simply put your air gauge on and push down. And so we're good on pressure. And so if you don't have any air pressure in this, or if you have low air pressure, what you will also need to do is go out and measure the water pressure on your hose bib. There's a gauge made for that. And so if you say have 50 psi of pressure on your water line, then this should be aired up to 50 psi here. So that's how that works. Now sometimes you get water coming out of this. So if you do that and water starts coming out of this valve, you're going to have to replace this tank because the baffle in here has failed. So we're good on the tank. And it's got both a mixture, a combination of PEX and copper. So all this looks pretty good. It's on a 20-amp breaker on the outside box. So that's something else. If you're wanting to kill the power to your water heater, chances are it's not going to be on the indoor panel like here. It may not be in this. It may be on the exterior panel. and hopefully it'll be marked water heater. It should be on a 2-pole breaker. In this case, it's a 20-amp breaker. Now another thing we have is a cutoff valve for the water heater. And if you don't have one of these for the main water supply coming into your house, I recommend, I know nobody wants to call a plumber and have to pay that, but if you do this, you're going to be glad you did, because it's just a matter of time before you have an emergency situation to where you have to cut the water off to the house. And it can really be a pain doing that at the meter, and you really want to be able to cut it off as quick as you can. And so look how quick it is to turn this water off with the ball valve. That's it. It's off. So that's why I recommend having a plumber come out and install one on your house if you don't know how to do that. So anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up with the tank water heater. I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections. And please subscribe to this channel. I mean, we've pretty much totally focused to just the issues that face us directly here in South Alabama. Thanks for watching.